Today, we'll be recapping how to measure angles. Rays of light travel in straight lines until they hit a boundary, like a mirror, or when they refract through a material like glass. Because they travel in straight lines, we can draw them as rays. When rays intersect with boundaries like mirrors, they typically change angle, and we need to know how to measure and draw such angles. We have an angle here that we'd like to measure, so we'll use our standard protractor. We'd like to line up this hole in the protractor with the vertex of the angle, and then these lines along the bottom of the protractor here and here with one of the edges of the angle. When we have that done, we can see that the top of the angle here intersects with the 60-120 degree mark on the protractor. Now, because we know this angle is acute, or less than 90 degrees, it must be 60 degrees. Moving along, in this example, we have an angle that is obtuse, greater than 90 degrees, and we like to measure it. So once again, we find the vertex and line up our protractor. Now in this case, the edge that we'd like to measure doesn't extend all the way to the markings on the protractor. So we can use the straight edge of the protractor to extend it outward. Once again, line up the protractor, and we find that this angle has a measurement at the marking of 20-160 degrees, and because we know our angle is obtuse or greater than 90 degrees, it must be 160 degrees in measurement. We can use the same idea to draw angles. Say we want to make a 45-degree angle. We can start by marking a point that we would like to be the vertex, and then use the straight edge of the protractor to draw out one of the lines coming from the angle. Now, we line up the vertex with the hole in the protractor and the line, and we find the 40-degree spot, and then we count out 5 tick marks so that we're at 45 degrees, which is right between 40 and 50 degrees. We'll mark this spot, and then use the straight edge to connect the dots at the vertex and the point we just marked. And now we have an angle of 45 degrees. Here we have a real-world example. We'd like to measure the angle made by this book cracked open. So in picking the vertex and the edges to measure, we would like to take the inside of the pages that make the angle. So we line up the bottom edge of the protractor with the bottom page here, pick the vertex to be the point where the bottom line intersects the top page, and then we can count the ticks from the 30-degree marking, and we see that we have an angle measurement of 33 degrees. When you're measuring something like this, it's important that when you select the bottom edge, you don't choose the wrong top edge. For example, in this case, it would be incorrect to look up here and say that the angle made is 43 degrees, because then you would be measuring the inside with respect to the outside, whereas the angle made follows the inside on both edges.